It was a place where nothing ever happened. The kind of quiet mountain community where people left their doors unlocked.
Where neighbors knew each other by name, and where danger felt like something that existed somewhere else, far away.
But on one cold April night in 1981, that illusion was shattered forever, deep in the forested hills of Keddie.
Inside a modest wooden structure known only as Cabin 28, something unfolded that would become one of the most chilling,
unsolved mysteries in American history. And what makes this case truly terrifying isn't just the violence. It's the precision, the control, and the haunting possibility that the killer knew exactly who they were coming for, and exactly who they would leave behind. And before we go any further, think about this. If someone enters a home in the middle of the night, commits a brutal series of murders, and then walks away without waking everyone inside, is that luck or planning? April 11th, 1981, the Sharp family had begun settling into their new life.
Sue Sharp, a mother determined to give her children a fresh start, had moved them to Keddie, hoping to escape the struggles of the past.
To find peace, stability, and maybe even happiness. Her children, John, Sheila, Rick, Greg, and Tina, were beginning to adjust, forming friendships, exploring the surrounding woods, living what seemed like a quiet, normal life. But that night, something felt different, though no one could quite explain why. Earlier in the evening,
John Sharp, Sue's teenage son, had been with his friend Dana Wingate, and the two returned to the cabin.
Unaware that they were walking into what would become their final hours. Inside the cabin, Sue was there, along with the younger children. The night unfolded like any other. Conversations, movement, then, slowly, silence.
As the hours passed and darkness settled over the mountains, the world outside became still, almost unnaturally quiet.
No traffic, no distant noise, just the faint whisper of wind through the trees. And somewhere in that silence, someone was watching. Or maybe, waiting. Sometime between late night and the early hours of the morning,
the calm was broken. Not loudly.
What happened inside Cabin 28 was contained, controlled, as if whoever was responsible knew exactly how to keep it that way.
The attacker entered, or perhaps was already inside, and what followed was not random. It was deliberate.
Sue Sharp, John Sharp, and Dana Wingate were found in the living room, but not as victims of a quick attack. They had been bound, restrained, forced into a situation where escape was nearly impossible, and then the violence began.
Brutal, sustained, and deeply personal. The kind of violence that leaves behind more questions than answers.
Evidence was scattered, chaos everywhere, yet beneath the surface, a pattern emerged. A chilling sense of order, as if the chaos had boundaries, as if it was directed, controlled. And that's what makes this case so disturbing, because it doesn't feel like a crime driven by panic. It feels like something planned, something executed with purpose. But here's where the story takes a turn that feels almost impossible to explain. Just feet away, in another room.
3 children slept through the entire attack. Rick, Greg, and a friend. Untouched, unharmed.
Completely unaware of the horror unfolding just walls away. No screams woke them. No sounds of struggle pulled them from sleep. And that raises a question that investigators have struggled with for decades. How is that possible? Was the attack quieter than it should have been? Or were the children somehow prevented from hearing it? And if so, how? As the night ended and morning approached,
the cabin fell silent once again. But this time, the silence was different. Heavier. Final.
When Sheila Sharp returned home the next day after spending the night elsewhere, she walked into a scene that would change her life forever. The living room, frozen in time. Her family, gone. The violence, undeniable. And in that moment, everything shifted from confusion to horror, to a desperate need for answers. Law enforcement arrived, but almost immediately the investigation faced problems. The scene wasn't secured properly. People moved through the cabin. The evidence was compromised, and what should have been a controlled investigation became a nightmare. And in cases like this, those early mistakes, they don't just slow things down. They can destroy the truth entirely. Witnesses began to come forward. One neighbor reported hearing strange noises. Another claimed to see unknown individuals near the area that night.
There were whispers of a green van. sightings that didn't quite fit, pieces of a puzzle that never came together.
But then investigators discovered something that made the case even more disturbing. Tina Sharp, the youngest child, was missing, completely gone. No signs of her in the cabin, no indication of where she had been taken. And suddenly, this wasn't just a murder investigation. It was a search, a race against time. But time ran out.
Years passed, leads faded, hope diminished, until 1984, when human remains were discovered miles away from the cabin.
Identified as Tina, confirming what many feared, but raising even more questions. Why her? Why take one child and leave the others? Was she the real target? Or was she taken for a reason we still don't understand? As the investigation continued, suspects emerged, individuals with violent pasts, connections to the family, ties to the area, some even rumored to have confessed in private. But every lead seemed to collapse just before it could become something solid. And over time, a darker theory began to take shape. One that suggested this case,
whispers of corruption, connections that went deeper than anyone wanted to admit. Because some of the names that kept appearing,
they weren't just random suspects. They were people with influence, people who might have had the power to make evidence disappear, to redirect attention, to ensure that certain questions were never fully answered. And if that's true, then the Keddie cabin massacre isn't just an unsolved crime. It's something much bigger, something far more unsettling, because it means the truth wasn't just lost. It may have been hidden. Imagine that night, the quiet, the isolation, the moment when everything changed, the realization that no one was coming to help, and then the aftermath, the silence that followed, a silence that still exists today. Because decades later, there are still no answers, no arrests, no closure, just theories, fragments, and the lingering feeling that something about this case doesn't add up, and maybe it never will. So now, ask yourself, what really happened inside Cabin 28? Was it a targeted attack? Revenge? Something personal? Or something even more complex? Something hidden beneath layers of mistakes and silence? Comment your theory below. Because sometimes, the smallest detail, the one everyone overlooks, is the one that changes everything. And if this story kept you watching, if it made you feel that tension, that unease, that need to understand, don't stop here. Like this video, share it with someone who loves true crime, and subscribe to Dia Saga, because the next story might take you even deeper into the unknown. And remember, the most terrifying part of this case isn't just what happened. It's that someone, somewhere, knows exactly how it happened. And they've never said a word.